Well, hey folks, welcome back to another episode of Our Community. I am your host, Kevin Young. It's great to be here and to have my good friend Dustin Parsons with me. Dustin.
Hey Kevin.
How you doing, bud?
Good, man. Good.
Yeah, excellent. So a lot of you might recognize Dustin as our new host here on Rogers TV for West Talk. And I thought it'd be great to have you on the show and let people kind of know who Dustin is, Dustin, from the community. So tell us a little bit about yourself, about, growing up, where you grew up and...
I think I would say I grew up in Pasadena. I'll say this on camera, and not many people know this, but I was born in New Brunswick actually.
Oh, wow.
But I identify as a Newfoundlander. Excellent. And my parents are from Corner Brook, and I moved back at a young age.
Yeah.
And yeah, went to JJ Curling for a little bit in grade 5, and then moved to Pasadena and graduated there. Really happy about that. I was happy my parents decided to bring us to Pasadena. I thought it was a great community.
Yeah.
And now that I have kids, we're still there, and I love it there.
Yeah. Excellent. And so you're working in town right now. So what was it like for you? So growing up, a little bit here, most of it in Pasadena. Work-wise, traveling back and forth. So why stay in Pasadena then if work is here?
That's a good question. So first of all, the best commute in this country is Pasadena to Corner Brook.
It is.
It's double lanes, it's rivers, mountains, trees, no traffic. So it's a drive that's never really bothered me. In fact, I quite like it. I love that, listening to music and having a coffee on the way to work and getting sort of in that headspace, and then also on the way home, having that 20 minutes to sort of let go of whatever happened that day at work, and hopefully go in my front door with a different sort of mind frame.
Right.
But also my wife works in Deer Lake, so Pasadena was just quite a natural fit as a place to land and split the difference. So neither one of us has to make a really big commute.
So your wife, is she from Pasadena?
No, she's from Deer Lake, I guess.
Okay.
She moved around a lot as a kid, and but yeah, settled back here on the West Coast when she had a chance. We lived in St. John's for a bit before moving back over here. Right.
Oh, so you did live in St. John's for a bit.
Yeah.
So I know that you do a lot with your steady entertainment.
Yeah.
I guess you might have picked up some connections from St. John's?
Well, not when I lived out there at the time. I was out selling cars actually.
Oh, wow.
And I wasn't as engaged business-wise in entertainment then. At that time, I still was playing in some bands.
Yeah.
Was a consumer of entertainment out there in the St. John's nightlife, and I guess met some good friends in the business over there. But starting in the entertainment business, my focus mostly was over here in Corner Brook and working with our bands and our venues here.
Right. I wonder how many of our guests know you're a mean little drummer.
Oh, well, probably not too many.
Yeah.
And because really I haven't had the chance to play in bands for a while now.
Right.
Just because something about taking your drum set down at like 4 in the morning and then having to go back in the work for 7, it just became a bit taxing on me, and my employer started to notice some droopy eyes and stuff, right? So I decided it probably would be a good time to focus on my career, but also stay engaged in the music business on a different level.
Right.
So not playing the drums, but supporting my friends who are musicians, supporting my friends who own venues, and trying to help them find each other and have proper business transactions between them. Because as you know, sometimes in the entertainment business, you're running into crappy venues and, you know what I mean, bar owners who don't pay, and then also musicians who don't do what they're supposed to do in their arrangement. So I sort of noticed that there seemed to be a little gap there, and an opportunity for someone to be a mediary between these people and create some assurances for both sides, and as a way to help my friends sort of keep getting gigs.
Right. Well, and of course help your business friends bring in the entertainment.
Yeah, totally. It works for everyone. And if I can ever figure out a way to really make money from it, I'll really be laughing.
Yeah.
It's been mostly a labor of love.
Passion.
Yeah, for sure. But I see it as everything I've done, any event I've done, whether or not it was profitable for us, everyone around us always was paid, and I always felt I was a better person after it, or more knowledgeable, or glad I made those mistakes so I don't have to make them again.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you were growing up, were you involved in music at all as a kid? Is drumming something that started young? Or?
No, I always wanted drums.
Yeah?
And my parents just wouldn't get them for me. No. And I can understand
Yeah.
why now. They bought me a guitar though. One Christmas I asked for drums and they got me a guitar.
Mm.
So I picked away at that for a little bit.
Yeah.
My dad was doing long haul truck driving at the time,
Mhm.
and I have this memory. I don't know if I was 12 or 13 or something, but he left to go for probably a couple months at that time, and left his guitar in my room and a chord book, his chord book, the
Right.
songbook he had handwritten out. And when he got back, I could play a bunch of those songs.
Wow.
You know, and then so he was sort of my inspiration, I guess, to
Mhm.
pick up music, and I'm glad for that because in high school, I started making friends who were also into music, and I was able to sort of play with them a bit. It wasn't until I got to university that I got my first drum set.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I met a man named Daniel Hiltz, who was a musician here in town, who you probably know.
Wonderful musician.
Yes.
Yes.
So when I met Daniel, it was his like second day of university,
Mhm.
and weeks before that, I heard a recording of his band at the time called the 20 After Ones playing out in Portabass. In the recording, Daniel was like 15,
Right.
and I was so impressed with the guitar work on this. I found him on campus and said, "Man, I'm Dustin. Welcome to Corner Brook. Let's start a band," essentially.
Yeah.
And we practiced once, and then I realized like I need to switch instruments.
Mm.
Like I can't play guitar with this guy.
No.
So I said, I think I'll go get some drums and try to be the drummer because
Right.
you're on your own level in the guitar thing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's sort of how that started out. And then a month after I got my first drum set, we were playing our first show at the back lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, we gigged around for 5 or 6 years. And certainly you and I came in contact over those years.
That's how
and
we
you were
first met,
working with some venues.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still love it. I don't think I come from an overly musical family, but certainly a family that loves music.
Right.
And it's always been around, part of my life. You know, my dad used to play the Dark Side of the Moon album, Pink Floyd,
Yeah.
in my crib when I was a baby. He tells me anyway, to like soothe me or some sort of weird
Yeah, yeah.
experiment. And then later in life, I felt like really on my own, I came into Pink Floyd and had this big love for it.
Yeah.
And then he told me, well, maybe that's because I was playing it for you when you were like 2 months old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
really interesting.
So I can relate, actually. I have a father who absolutely loves music, and I grew up surrounded by his music. But I have so many family members that are absolutely musically gifted, either with an instrument or with a voice. Luckily, I got the instrument side because if I tried to sing, I think it would be a nightmare.
Your dad's
But
got a great voice, though,
my
right?
dad has a fantastic voice. I wish the world can hear him. When it comes to the music side for you, what would you say would be, aside from Pink Floyd, your greatest influence for your love of music?
It definitely started there, of where I started to realize, you know, there's more to music than what's presented at face value.
Mhm.
But I think some of my biggest influences have been, you know, it's come from the blues genre.
Right.
Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan, people like that who just can make their instruments scream and do crazy things with them.
Mm.
And I just get so impressed by that. Any band that really has that level of musicianship. Huge Tragically Hip fan.
Right.
Actually had the chance to see them in Ottawa on their second last show they ever played. So the
Oh,
show,
wow.
I believe it was the show right before their last show in Kingston.
Mhm.
My wife and I went up. They had been really influential on me. Also Matt Mays and his band, when I was in university, to hear the sound that they were producing and to know that that was coming from Halifax. And we were in a band at the time. It was really inspiring of like, man, this is really good rock music that's coming from right over there.
Mhm.
And it's taking off, so maybe we can do that too.
Right.
Yeah, so I'd say I'm influenced a lot by Canadian artists that are close to my heart, but also some bigger, you know, and some of those big classic rock bands and Pink Floyd and, you know, Led Zeppelin, things like that.
Right.
And also the folk music. I do have a real soft spot for Newfoundland folk music, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And I think, you know what? Deep down, I think all of us Newfoundlanders do.
Yeah, we'll tap a toe.
Yeah, I remember listening to a Newfoundland song and someone complaining about it being Newfoundland music, and I asked them. I said, you know, it's funny you say that because I remember when we were in Halifax together and you got really nostalgic for that Newfoundland music. I think we all do. We all have
Yeah.
that deep sense and root in there. So you mentioned you went to university, and that's kind of where you met, you know, Daniel, who's
Yeah.
playing in a great group now, actually.
Yeah.
But you went to university. So what was it you did there? What did you take?
I started out studying business there, and then partway through my time in university, they opened a brand new program. So it was a tourism and hospitality management degree program.
Mhm.
So I was in the first class of students that got to take that course,
Oh,
take
wow.
that program, yeah.
Excellent. And I mean, Not too far from what you're doing, I guess, in terms of the entertainment side
Yeah,
of it
it
all.
was sort of geared towards like heavy towards hospitality management, like
Yeah.
hotel management stuff.
Right.
A friend of mine who was in that program as well, Autumn Gale, she's now the manager of the Hue and Draw Hotel down here.
Yeah.
So it was a good program that put a lot of people into great careers.
Mhm.
For me, though, I realized in university that I realized I was a sales guy,
Mm.
and that I had a comfort and a skill set there, and that maybe sales could offer me an opportunity to create my own income without having a cap, without having a set, this is how much money you can make in this year, but rather how hard you work will determine how much money you can make. So I've always sort of gravitated towards those types of things. It comes with its pitfalls of being associated sometimes as, sales is not a super trusted industry.
No.
It's up there with like lawyers.
Yeah.
But I've been very happy and proud of my time, selling anything from vehicles to now cannabis
Right.
in our legal cannabis store here in Corner Brook. And met a lot of great people, and I don't know why I gravitated towards that versus the tourism side more, but
But you still do dabble in a bit of the tourism stuff, because I've seen you
sure.
involved with the cruise ships when they've come in.
yeah,
and-
yeah, I do. Like just strictly due to my love of the outdoors and nature, I had an opportunity to do some cruise ship guiding, and I mean, I know you're the same way. If you have a chance to show Newfoundland to some people who have never been here, you're going to take it 100% free or paid.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had the luxury to be able to take Germans and Americans for hikes through the woods periodically when the cruise ships were coming in. And I guess the entertainment business is sort of a tourism aspect. I mean, when you get into the major festivals and stadium concerts, you're really dipping into the tourism territory when you have an opportunity to pull thousands of people into a small community.
So what's your favorite thing to do with people when they come to Corner Brook then?
Whoa.
What kind of trails? You
Good
mentioned trails and
question. Good
hiking.
question.
Yeah.
Good question. In the wintertime, it would definitely be pretty marble-centric,
Yeah.
and just allowing people to feel the luxury of being able to drive 10 minutes to a world-class ski hill where you can see music and all that kind of stuff. In the summertime, when friends come here to see me, I'll usually lean on some of my friends who are in tourism here, like Rob Thomas and the guys at the Salt Box, and try to get them out for a boat tour, try to show them some things that they wouldn't normally see.
Right.
And of course, classic Grossmorn. If anyone comes to Newfoundland and you don't bring them to Grossmorn, you're kind of doing them a disservice, right?
Now, you mentioned Grossmorn, and I'm reminded of that story that I don't know if you've seen the recent story of the people that were in Grossmorn. It had a bit of a scary
Scary
thing,
So
yeah.
I was actually been talking to that guy.
Right?
Yeah, a little bit about his story. I just messaged him. Actually asked him if he would be my guest on West Talk.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, that hits close to home for sure. I've had some other friends, and I mean, I saw people's commentary on that online, and it's, I know he wasn't from Newfoundland, but that has and will happen to many Newfoundlanders. Probably more so Newfoundlanders because, we do grow up with this, in nature. We part rely on it for food a little bit here, but also for recreation, because in Western Newfoundland there wasn't a whole lot. So
Right.
if you can enjoy the outdoors, you're going to have a good time, right? But that means probably a lot of people are going into the woods a little overconfident, a little underprepared, and it doesn't take much for a walk in the woods to turn squirrely, right? Like that guy had a pretty rough night, and I think he's lucky to really have getting out of it.
Absolutely. And I think sharing his story, when I saw the story and I read it, I wasn't as much concerned as much as I was glad and proud of him for having done that. And I think that's a great story. And Grossmorn is one of my absolute favorite places on the planet. It really is. And it's only in our backyard, but so many people have yet to venture up that way.
I tell you, when I went up this summer a few times, and it was a really interesting summer in Grossmorn, and talking to some of the operators, they were saying they were seeing way more Newfoundlanders, right? Because we couldn't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
And also it was just more accessible, right? It gets a little crowded up there sometimes in the summers, which is great for the operators.
Sure.
But for the Newfoundlander who just wants to,
Enjoy
go up
their
and take
backyard.
that in, it's almost like you're going to another place and you're seeing people from everywhere except for Newfoundland, sort of. So yeah, I think hopefully a lot of Newfoundlanders got to get up there for the first time this year and take it in. It was so nice to be in Grossmorn, and just, again, kind of sad at the same time, but so nice to just have all of that to yourself, essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they still had a pretty good summer up there by the sounds of it, like a lot of the
Yeah,
operators.
so I've spoken to a few of them, and they said that's definitely been the case. Even here in Corner Brook,
Yeah,
we've had a pretty surprisingly
Yeah.
decent year this year,
yeah,
and things have certainly made life a little different for not only us as residents but travelers around the world. I know that I've spoken to some who had plans to come here on a cruise ship this year, and
Yeah.
we're looking forward to it for the first time, or some that were returning, and I haven't spoken to them since, of course, with COVID.
Yeah.
Very upset. If you can say one thing about Corner Brook that you think everyone should see or be involved in or do something, or not even just Corner Brook, our community. So Corner Brook,
Our
Pasadena, anywhere. What would you say is the one thing you gotta do it?
Well, I guess it really depends. For me, if it was someone who was of the same heart as myself, I would recommend people check out this trail network that we have here right now, which is getting more extensive by the day. It's getting more accessible by the day. I mean, there's trails now all up Massey Drive, down through Bowwaters Park. And if you only had a little bit of time in the city, I would say that's a great way to see it. I mean, you can connect from West Street to Broadway through a nature trail that goes by this pond, and there's wetland reserves in these areas. I mean, a lot of people in Corner Brook don't even know what's inside of these trail networks and how well it's developed. So I would say that's a big one to hit up. And in the summertime, I would really tell people to go to Pasadena Beach and go check out the Oasis. And it's a really interesting, it's kind of unique for Newfoundland to have a bar and restaurant on a white sand beach, fresh water in Newfoundland. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any other places like that on the island, really.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a little hidden gem
Yeah.
on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So what kind of things do you do with your family, I guess, because you have kids?
I've got a 1-year-old now.
You have a 1-year-old. So what kind of things do you like to do with your 1-year-old?
Well, it's this weird thing where he was born last September, and then the winter came, and so we're in winter with a 3-4-month-old. So we didn't really get to do much. And then, of course, COVID arrived, and we didn't really get to do much then.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of been a weird year. One thing that we did a lot this summer and this spring is just hike, man.
Yeah.
Just go out. I got for Father's Day, my wife got me one of those baby carriers, the
Yeah.
hiking bags, and we've logged hundreds of miles with that guy on my back this summer, and it's been great for him and great for me. And I mean, I think that I think only good can come of him being exposed to nature as much as possible. So we really enjoy that. We do like to camp and stuff a lot, but really we didn't really get to camp with the baby this summer.
Yeah.
We really hoped to. And
Yeah.
some of our friends who have a baby about the same age, they did it a lot. But it was just the way the cookie crumbled for us this summer.
Sure.
And also my wife was completing her CPA as well, so we just had so much going on. But now I'm looking forward to spending lots of time with the family. I know we're going to do a lot of snowshoeing this winter. We got Dawson, our son, a nice little sleigh.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully we can just for the first time start to get the hang of this going out together as a family kind of thing.
Right, right. How long have you been married, Dustin?
I've been married for 3 years, I guess. My wife and I have been together for 8 or 9 years
Oh,
now
wow.
at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. So where did you meet? I mean, you said
We
she.
met in university.
Yeah, in university.
Yeah.
Wow.
She was living in St. John's,
Yeah.
and we had a lot of mutual friends. I went to St. John's to see a concert and stayed at my friend's house, and she was my friend's roommate.
Oh, wow.
And so after the concert, we stayed up and chatted all night long, and went our separate ways, and later got connected. Her grandparents lived in Pasadena, so we had some opportunities to hang out. But she was living in St. John's, so
Right.
at a certain point, she let me know
Yeah.
that, it's a you know what, or get off the pot situation.
Yeah.
And yeah, we decided to move out to St. John's together, and she had a great career out there. Right after university, she was working for ExxonMobil,
Right.
and I agreed to go out in the interest of our relationship to St. John's, because I really had no interest to move to St. John's. The best part of the island is where we're to now.
Right. Sorry, St. John's.
Sorry, St. John's, great guys, terrible
Yeah.
weather.
Yeah.
So we kind of made a deal that we would go out there for a while, but we would settle back here.
Right.
And so once we came back to Western Newfoundland, it was kind of, well, I did my part. Now it's time for you to propose, kind of thing. So
Right, right.
yeah, shortly after, or I guess a couple years after, we got married we got engaged in Nicaragua. A pretty impromptu situation. I didn't have a
Wow.
ring or anything.
Right.
We just knew it was
It was
it
time.
was time. Yeah, and we came home and didn't have a long engagement, and had a great ceremony and party up at Marble Mountain. My wife's mother officiated the wedding because she's
Oh, wow.
clergy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we had a great time. My friends came, and we set up all the music equipment and open stage at Marble, and just people, great musicians. I didn't realize I had so many great musician friends until they all showed up at the same time. And
Wow.
yeah, it was really special. Marriage has been fun, I got to say. It's not something I expected to say.
No?
No. But I mean, after 6 or 7 years, it just, for me, it was very important to my wife, and marriage was not something that was really important to me ever. I was quite happy to love her and stay with her forever without going through the ceremony.
Sure.
And then I guess in Nicaragua, I realized, like, okay, if I think it's trivial, but it's very important to her, then why aren't we just doing this? Like, why am I not just doing this, to make her happy, right? If it truly doesn't mean anything to me, like I'm saying. And that's basically the realization that I had, and yeah, no looking back. But to me, truly, once you start to, once you get a dog and you finance a couch and get a house, you know what I mean, with
You're
someone,
in.
those to me were the big commitments.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was just a natural thing. How about you? How long have you been married?
So my wife and I met in high school.
Yeah.
Actually, grade 12, and we didn't hit it off at first very well. We actually, funny story, she didn't like me much, but
my wife thought I was a jerk too.
yeah,
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, so my wife felt the same way, but there was something about her, and we've been together ever since. Of course, now we have 4 kids, married. We've just celebrated 14 years.
Wild.
Yeah. So
what's the key to success there, Kevin?
I'll be honest with you. I think when it comes to a marriage, in fact, I was talking to somebody recently about this. Been married for the first year, and asked, "How are you guys together so long?" First of all, it's the idea that it shouldn't be shocking. We've been together for 14 years.
Yeah. What do you mean?
I mean, we grew up with our lives. For the most part, most of us, our parents, one relationship. They've been married, and that's kind of thing. Our grandparents. So the first thing is it shouldn't be shocking. The second one is, and you really brought up a great point that I wanted to touch on, it's that sometimes you got to have a little bit of self-sacrifice. Sacrifice the things that aren't so important to you for something that is more important to your spouse.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what happened with my wife and I. And it took time.
Yeah.
It did. We were together for a long time before I felt myself, I was at the level of maturity to do that.
Yeah.
And to make those sacrifices.
It's just like sort of letting go a bit, and it's more than just the act of deciding to get married. Those little sacrifices or compromises or submissions, whatever you want to call it.
There's a word that I was told years ago, and it's been my favorite word to use since. It is complementarianism. You compliment one another, not to say compliment you look good today, but you compliment in that you're picking up each other's slack.
Yeah.
And supporting each other where their strengths are and so on and so forth.
I mean, yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And for me, I don't mind saying that a lot of the things I've done in my life in the last 5 or 6 years, a lot of the business ventures I've tried have been because I've been married to my wife, Patty, and because I had that support and that flexibility of, being partnered together and not just being on my own, and we have, dual income and things like that. It's given me that flexibility, and her as a person having so much trust in me, so that when I want to say, I'm going to quit my job today and start a business, or I'm going to go spend a bunch of our hard-earned money and invest on a music festival because I believe in it. She rolls with it, and she's an accountant, so she helps me keep on the straight and narrow there in that way, and I appreciate that. But yeah, she's. I think it's fair to say she's probably compromised more for me than I've compromised for her at this point, but that's certainly something I hope to balance out more and in our life. Yeah. And anything she wants to do, I do support her in. It just seems like I'm the one chasing after stuff all the time, and she's quite happy and content to go to work and work her hardest and take care of our child. And
I'd be willing to bet, Dustin, if you and I sat down and talked about our relationship, we would have a lot of similarities.
It sounds
like
you're
just sounding like my wife and I, because my wife has been absolutely astounding over the years. Not everything hasn't been perfect, of course. Like any relationship, whether it's with your spouse, your friends, your family, there's ups and downs. But she's sacrificed so much for me that when I got to that maturity point that I mentioned, I began to realize that. Yeah. And I began to realize all of these things. And she had to put up with me traveling a lot. Yeah. She had to put up with and having kids. So we had kids at home, and I was gone. Yeah. And so it really made that world of difference. and whatnot. But your wife, is she involved in music at all?
She's not
No?
really.
Mine either.
Not at all, you know. And
Yeah.
she likes music, but she has over the last little while become a bigger part of Steady Entertainment and our music company. Basically, when she realized I wasn't keeping spreadsheets, she started becoming a really important part of it.
Yeah.
So she does enjoy coming out to the events, and she does enjoy listening to the music, and she has found new music that she likes, who are people that we had worked with, you know.
Right.
But I think she played a little bit of piano growing up, and I know she has a beautiful voice, even though I don't hear her sing much, but she has it in her, because her mother is an extremely talented pianist and singer.
Right.
But yeah, music wasn't a big part of her life, not like it was mine. And I think that's cool,
Yeah.
that we have different interests. I think we have shared interests, and then we have very different hobbies and interests outside of that. And I think I always kind of wondered how it would go down if, you know, if two people had the exact same hobbies, the exact same interests in a relationship. It kind of seems fun on the surface, but I can see also where it would be kind of problematic too.
I agree, and I think that's one of the things I love about the relationship I have with my wife as well, is that we're able to be a couple for certain things, but then we're also able to be individuals.
Yeah.
And do our own individual things. Dustin, I want to thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, I think our
And,
wives do too, man. What a plug for the old ladies.
Yes, thank you to our wonderful wives for being the wonderful wives you are.
Yeah.
And Dustin, thanks for being on the show, and I really hope that our viewers watching this show certainly check out yours as well,
Yeah.
West Talk, and enjoy that as well. So thanks again.
Thanks for the opportunity.
And thank you everybody for watching and joining us this week. We look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, bye for now.